Hello, everybody at Blast TV. Thank you for sticking around. We are here for the post show. Some say even better than the real show. Today, we've got Mahone joining us. You know him from the Mahone Zone, come to do some live analysis and interview. And YEKINDAR, a guy who's been very friendly to the camera. And coming off a win, YEKINDAR, you were going to be the guest, win or lose. Were you prepared to do this interview on a loss?
I mean, I had to. I had to do it anyway, so I was prepared mentally. At least Steve, our manager, told me beforehand. And yes, thank you.
There you go.
Basically, I was prepared either way, and Steve, our manager, told that I would have to do it. So.
Okay, but you enjoy it, right? Oh, we need to make sure that YEKINDAR can talk. The first thing I wanted to ask him about once he's on again is vacation. Okay, because we just came off the player break, and I want to know what you did for a vacation and what was the best food you ate.
Like, actually, I went to Thailand with a girl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
what part?
I was in Phuket.
Oh, you're in Phuket, okay.
Yeah.
The party islands.
Yeah, it was super fun. It was super fun, and I could be one of the reasons why we started late practice and why we were.
Oh God.
We had to do everything really fast and really compact in a way, and our bootcamp was like for. I don't want to lie, like 4 days before this event.
4 days,
so,
it's not a lot.
Yeah.
It's not a lot.
I mean, we NA people need more time to relax.
Yeah, hey, sometimes, isn't it true you can boot camp too long?
Yes, it's actually true because, for example, before Rio Major, right, we actually had a great 1.5 year, I want to say, 1.5 week or like 2 weeks boot camp, and everything went really good, and that's a bad sign. As soon as before the tournament, everything is going really good, you're playing well, you're winning scrims all the time. As you can see, that didn't help us in the Rio Major, and you have to like, in my sense, in our sense, 1 week before a tournament is the best. More than a week, people start to get in a routine, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what you don't want.
Do you ever find that there's like a trend between whether you have a good boot camp versus a bad one? Because I know this is like a very common thing. What has your experience been?
When we got second place EPL, our boot camp was complete garbage. Like,
okay.
Honestly, like we were so bad. Like, we would cancel scrims because we just couldn't play. Like, nobody was on the server, like, mentally. We were doing so many mistakes. We would cancel scrims to have more theory, to talk about more stuff. And then group stage in EPL was really bad as well. And then somehow into playoffs, we got the form. So it's a matter of the right timing to peak at the right timing, basically. And for example, in Outsiders, when I was playing in Outsiders, that was always the priority, to peak for the major. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of teams don't necessarily understand that, and I wouldn't say that we understand that as well, but it's a thing that we're going to.
There is some irony that everyone's practicing for officials, but officials are the best practice for officials, right?
That's actually really true, because we played Nuke yesterday against OG, and there were so many things that we haven't seen in scrims, right? So from this one official, we probably got more than from like I'm not even gonna lie, like one week of practice.
What kind of teams are you playing in scrims?
We mostly play all teams. Some top 10 teams don't necessarily play with us, or don't. We don't know the reasoning.
Well, sometimes I always say that the teams that you see in tournaments are not playing each other before the tournament starts. Is that true or not true?
It depends on. I feel like it depends on philosophy of the enemy team. For example, if you're playing, we always had that thing that. We want to play Fury before, even if we know that we're going to play them, because you're going to get into their rhythm. Okay. Because when you haven't played them for a long time, it's pretty hard to change up the mind games and your psychological readiness for the enemy team, what they're going to do, right? So we would want to play them, right? But they understand that they don't play usually teams that they have in groups. But it depends. If you have some new things that you don't want to show that you have, you wouldn't show them, and you would not play a team that you have in groups. But if, for example, there's a new team that's out there somewhere, you want to play them just to see how they play.
Well, speaking of new things, we have Anubis coming in, and it was a funny veto because it was Complexity's pick, but it was a map that you could have potentially picked. And we've got highlights from you on this map to just show off exactly how good you were. Talk to me about this position and how much you like it.
We call it Cheetah.
Calling it Cheetah.
Yeah.
That's definitely because of Ancient, right?
Yes.
That's like the way it works.
It is because of Ancient. Some of the... They were... I feel like they made a mistake with their default that they were playing. They were using 2 smokes at the start and didn't necessarily take any control of the map at that point. So even though they were using like window smoke at the mid and Cheetah smoke at the start, they weren't gaining anything off that. So we understood that it's either going to be like a side hit at that timing, so it's going to be either A at first timing or either B at first timing, or it's a slow default. And then I was just re-smoking Cheetah, and that allowed us to play heavier mid, and we could have just shut down every split that they were doing.
It felt like you had a very good idea of what was going on the map at that point, and it was largely just JT behind the smoke. What do you think they were aiming to do, going kind of light on Canal's control, but having JT get control of it?
I feel like it's just we already played like 4 officials on Anubis, right? And as we talked prior, officials are a lot more valuable in terms of practice and understanding of the map, and they haven't played a single official. Maybe they watched like FaZe or us or any other team play Anubis, and they think, oh yeah, we know how it feels. But then they go into like official, and it's a bit different. It's a different pacing, a different rhythm, and I feel like their game plan just didn't work at the start and got snowballed.
What do you think is the balance between, like, you know how they didn't have any officials, right? So you couldn't technically prep them either, right? So what do you think is the balance between kind of facing a team that doesn't have prep versus a team where you actually do have some information? Like, you ever feel like there's like sometimes it's maybe not worth like trying to just go for like a blind pick because you don't know what they're doing? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I would say that preferably you would not pick a map against a team that didn't play it because you don't know. But if they played it prior and you understand approximately how they're going to play, you could pick it easily. And it just depends on also the skill of teams, of those both teams. And we're not afraid to play Complexity on Anubis because we know how to play against teams even without preparation in this sense. So when they picked Anubis, we expected that, and we had a game plan, even though we don't have any specific information on them. But Anubis is such a map where there's not a lot of things that you can necessarily do.
Everyone feels like they're the best on Anubis right now and have gotten very good at it very quickly. The interesting part about this veto was also Overpass, the fact that you picked their best map. I mean, you kind of had a veto where you could have picked somewhere else. You had Anubis to start off with. What was the idea behind picking Overpass? Did you just want to like get a nice win on Overpass for the map stats because you had lost, 3 out of 4 games on
That's
it?
BM, what you just said.
That's what I thought it was. I had to
No,
be
we
honest.
just want to pick each best of 3 a different map.
Okay.
We treat this, honestly, we treat this tournament more of a boot camp in our heads because we didn't have necessarily the preparation time before this tournament. And we have a lot of things that we want to test out and try out. And this format is really forgiving for us. And even though we lost to OG, we played our, I'm not going to say anything because just
You can't do that.
Yeah, literally, I was joking about picking a new map every time.
Oh,
right?
you were, because I have no...
No, yeah, I was joking. It's just, we felt like picking Overpass, we picked Overpass. That's basically what happened. We had the most information on them on Overpass. So we were comfortable playing against them on Overpass, and we knew how they play. And OC, if you didn't know, is a previous teammate of Captain JT. So maybe there's some inside information, but I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, you looked very comfortable.
Yeah. I think we have a TeamSpeak clip that we want to kind of show, trying to get some thoughts from you, because you're a player who actually takes a lot of control, like in these mid rounds, and I think we're just right here. I don't know if can you hear this?
No,
I can't hear this, so maybe production might need to fix that.
you guys need to calm more. That's what I'm thinking.
I'm just going to push him in and we're rotating into chopper.
Do you remember what?
Yeah, I remember this round.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Basically, I understood that they're planning to go towards B, and I just checked that Naf and John. I think it was Elijah with me.
It was two B. It has
We
to
had
be B.
no.
It has to be B.
We completely had no utility to hold it.
I'm leaving you.
And basically we called the
I don't see
fast
cheetah.
like
Look,
push
cheetah
other side to have a fast
Okay, okay.
flank,
Yep.
and
Inside.
I was pushing out mid, so we cleared lurkers
Swing a cheetah,
really
cheetah.
fast,
I'm coming
and we
along
have
with you, Keith. I can do
two
the
fast
retake
flanks
push.
on
I'm gonna go B long. What do you think?
on the B.
Triangle, one in.
While they have to like
Flashing
risk
to the right
because
now.
Nav still has chances
Cheetah
on
on
getting
mid.
the kills on B because of
Cheetah,
playing
you
some
made it,
retake
cheetah,
position. We
cheetah,
played really
cheetah.
close before.
I'm not sure what
They
part
expect
he's
us
in.
playing really close, but we are already far back, and Nav can catch one. It's already 5 versus 3, and we have 2 fast flanks, and that's how it works. We knew that we can win retake, and it would be a lot harder for us to hold it rather than play the long game and retake.
Are you guys calling it YEKINDAR pillar, or is it too many syllables?
We actually call it Apex.
Apex.
Apex, okay.
Okay.
I have a
that's
question.
Apex
I have a
pillar.
question about that situation actually, like, because you guys call that room Cheetah, obviously because of Ancient. Are there things that you guys have kind of taken from other maps and applied to Anubis, like certain ideas, certain concepts?
Anubis is kind of different in a way, in terms of as soon as if enemies smoke cheetah, and because they can be close to orange, we call it like left side of cheetah, like T side of the water, right?
Yeah.
If they can be like close there at any certain timing, they can pop B. So you're either forced to re-smoke cheetah or you're forced to play 3B usually, because they can just crunch you
Yeah, they
if
can split you,
if they do it well, right?
Yeah.
And no other map has this style where T side can get free control of everything, and they can just literally crunch you in first 15 seconds of the round. But other sides, yeah, A side you can go, of course, contact, like you can do Ancient A contact right with an op. You can go A Anubis contact with an op, right? And you can basically apply those to any map mostly. And usually when there's a new map out, you usually take ideas and ideas. You can find the parallels between the maps, and even though if it's not obvious from the first sight, it could be it could come afterwards.
I'm going to give your haters some ammo here. I'm going to give you 3 maps. You rate them out of 10. Okay? Mirage.
I'm a face it kid, so I would say like a 9. I enjoy playing.
I'm afraid to say 10.
I wouldn't say 10 to any map. I feel like in
10
the
any
map.
Okay. Cash.
Ooh. 2014, I was over 15. I was actually playing officials in Cash.
Okay.
I loved Cash.
Were you owning or?
That's yeah. I mean, I wasn't playing bad, but the thing about Cash, I literally played every spot. I played A, I played highway, I played B rotator, I played connector, and on T side, the only spots that didn't play was door. So literally, I played 9 spots out of 10 possibles, and that's the only map where I actually played all the spots. I would rate it at like an 7 or an 8.
A 7 or 8, okay. And now Anubis.
I think B needs some work still.
Okay.
So I would rate it like an 8 or some, 8.
A message to the devs. What can we change about B?
So I want to ask as well, because you just talked about how you
Well,
played.
I want to.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's okay.
It's just-
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
something
really
that's
curious.
like-
I'm really
okay.
I
curious.
want some way of contesting water, not necessarily by contesting always from A main, and because it's super obvious when you're contesting water. CD side, I want some way of contesting water so T side can't just come close to cheetah and just run out B. Literally, the thing with B is the cheetah guy can hear everything. What's happening on mid, what's happening on B, what's happening on water. So as soon as you hear a pin on B, you just
can
understand
hear
that it's going to
everything,
be a B pop or something like that. And if, for example, there was more distance or something, I don't know, if you couldn't hear that, then it would be even worse. So I'm glad at least we can do that.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. I want to ask, because you said Cash in 2014. I want to ask, like, have you always been like this aggressive entry type of player?
Basically, my first contracted team that I joined Elements Pro Gaming with Hooch. He literally said, "We needed an idiot like you," and he put me on the Literally,
Really?
his words. He saw a clip where I was doing a role on the stage, like on a Baltic land, and he's like, "We need this idiot."
Yeah.
And then he put me on all entry fragger roles, and not gonna lie, I didn't know shit at that time. So I understand why he put me on entry fragger. I was just running out and like shooting, right? I actually sincerely miss the time where you don't think macro, where you just shoot and push something because you have intuition.
Yeah.
You don't have understanding of the map. You just have intuition that nobody is there. And I miss that, actually, that feeling.
What kind of player were you before that then?
Before I joined Elements per Game,
Yeah, before you became this brainless pusher.
I was actually an opper before that.
Really?
Yeah, I was
opper.
opping. I was opping in a team called Comanche. Jame went to Avantgarde from there, and I joined that team as an opper.
So you've just been following Jame around your whole life, huh?
Yeah, I already miss him.
You already missed him. Okay, well, you actually had a question about
Yeah, I want to ask, like, what did you gain from your time playing with Jame, like on Outsiders? Because obviously you knew now coming into NA, it's like a different style, right? And we always talk about on broadcasts and even other teams, like, we talk about the CIS style. So I want to ask, like, what did you get from Jame and what is like the CIS style exactly?
First of all, he let me understand that systemizing the team and systemizing the calls in a way so the game feels easier because the captain feels less obligations to call everything mid-round, what grenade everybody should throw or whatever. If you have it systemized, the people will always have the same patterns. And when they end up in the same situations, they play more confidently because that's not a new situation and they don't have a error in their head, right? So they're ending up in the same situations. That's first systemizing, and then second and third thing is preparation and macro. Like these, like the thoughts that Jame had, nobody, like probably some people have it, right?
Yeah.
But he was such a hard worker and still is, and probably the most hardworking like player in the scene.
What's the weirdest thing he's ever said to you that you only realized was true later?
Weirdest thing that what? Sorry.
Yeah, like some kind of CS advice that he had that at first you're like, that doesn't make any sense. And then like later on, you were like, okay, I get it now. Because Norbert had also said something like, at first I didn't understand the system, and then I realized Jame was just too big brain for me and it all makes sense. What's like an example of that?
I didn't necessarily understand how he was calling in clutches.
Okay.
I felt that he was overthinking a lot, but then I came to a conclusion that simplicity is not always the right path. And when you're playing a really good team, they will first thing that they expect is simplicity, and then afterwards you're like outplaying them in that situation. But then, if you know that people are playing these clutches like the hard ones, like the not simple clutches, right? Then it's basically mind games with the enemy captain, and I felt like that's why CS is a bit why eras are changing and everything, why underdog can win against a really good team, because it's also a matter of moment and some like mind games decisions. So that's like the probably interesting part.
You ever hit tab in the clutch and then play a 1v1 differently because of who was on the other side?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm not gonna spill beans on everything, but I'll say that, for example, we say the nickname when 1v1, and we say the nickname.
Yeah.
You see how I didn't say the nickname now?
Yeah, sure.
But I have one in my head, but I'm not gonna share that.
Sure.
I want to ask as well, because you were just talking about Outsiders and Jame, and I want to pull up the clip here, and I want you to just kind of talk through it a little bit. This is from your time in Outsiders, and maybe this kind of goes to what you were talking about. So give me 1 second.
Welcome to the Mahone zone, by the way.
Yeah. This is where we get Yekinder to spill all the beans. So this is a long time ago. This was
It's Katowice.
Yeah. No. It was actually Pro League. It's actually Pro League, but you're on the team here. I got your POV. I got your
this
POV.
is before Antwerp, right?
Yeah, before Antwerp.
Yeah.
And what we're going to see here is that, you guys kind of go into a bit of a default. 2 guys died towards Banana. And this is kind of the interesting contrast, because whenever we look at Outsiders of this team, we think about how, okay, Jame's like a slow opper, and then you're like somebody who's really fast. And something that's interesting in this clip here is that as soon as it's 5v3, how do you know to just kind of like run up arch like this for free? I'll let you watch the entire clip so you can get
I
an
don't
understanding.
necessarily remember the exact moment, but I think there was some pressure. That I had information from Kicker that it's. I don't remember the exact situation, but first of all, everybody knew that I'm leaving after on the Pro League already.
Yeah.
So that could be one of the reasons.
You're like, fuck you, fuck you,
Yeah,
fuck you.
No. We tried to win, but we were playing more freely and a bit different. But I think these plays don't happen just out of the blue. So it's either information from Banana, or it's information from the Halls player, or it's Jame Jame could literally say, run there, and I would just run because he's calling that.
YEKINDAR is very right about this, because if we get production to go back here, I don't know if we're going to be able to spot this, but what happens here actually is that there's a double...
By the way, the trick is that Mahone knew the whole time the answer. And he set you up.
What happens here is on the radar, they actually double nade. They actually double nade the balcony, right? So that's why you probably just like, you know, I'm going to take a chance here towards arch. At the same time, I'm impressed that Jame was able to follow you up in the way that he then holds the short side while you go up.
We had like with Jame this synergy. He understood what to do when I'm doing something, and a lot of the things are pre-taught.
Okay.
But at the same time, situations, he was really adaptive. He's a super adaptive player, and he understands what to do usually. And worst case scenario, he doesn't understand, and he saves. So it's kind of like he's a smart player,
Man,
so he knew how.
My weirdest observation of Jame is that sometimes, you know how sometimes he just holds his crosshair on the ground, you know? And I just think there's reactive players who try to react to every situation, but Jame, I don't think thinks like that at all. He's just thinking about what he believes is going to happen, not just trying to react to stimulus here and there.
Yeah.
And when I see him sometimes with his crosshair a little bit low, I'm thinking, man, he's taking a risk right now. But in his head, he's just thinking about what he believes the map is looking like right now, not just ready for anything, but only what he thinks is going to happen.
It's really important and interesting to actually allow yourself to disfocus in some moments. Because when you're running from spawn, for example, at the start of the round, you're not focused, right? When you're getting into heat of the action, you're focused. When you get information from some other side of the map, you can loosen yourself up a bit. Because if you're focused throughout the whole round, your energy is gonna be not enough for the best of three and whatever it's actually a really important skill that professional players should be having and probably have.
I actually want to continue with this clip because what you said earlier about, you know, kind of understanding, it's a little bit hard to see. I'm going to try to zoom in. Hopefully nothing breaks. What we see here is that you guys are kind of crunching on the A site, right? And you do a really smart thing here by coming towards Moto, but you don't necessarily like commit to the site. Because the first thing you do here is you spot these guys, and then you see Robs here. You kill them, but you don't engage. You wait for your other two players who are apps, right? Is this something that you guys like talk about in the moment, or is this just like an inherent understanding from protocols and stuff like that?
It's protocols. It's push and pull.
Yeah.
It's all. You have like if I would peek, I would just die, right? So you're by killing one, surviving. A lot of players don't understand this, but if information that you're there is a lot of the times enough. It gets the CTs in this scenario. It gets CTs stressed enough to lose focus against the other players and give them a higher percentage chance. And that's protocol. I think in every top 10 team, everybody understands that mechanic. So the easiest example would be like Dust 2, where the side player on B is getting first contact. So he's like spotting, right? Tunnel players, T-side players who go out contact, they spot the side guy and they're like, side, side, side. And then there's a guy close on the box. And the side guy is hiding, close on the box, takes contact, and then the side guy can play or cannot play. That's an important skill and knowledge that you learn pretty fast.
Who's not paying attention, sort of. Well, we've talked a lot about outsiders and how good they are. How much better are Liquid than outsiders?
In what exactly?
Counter-Strike.
In Counter-Strike? I feel like individual level here is stronger.
Especially since you came over, huh?
I don't count myself. I don't count myself. But I feel like John and Keith are really strong players, like riflers. Josh has his own moments, but he has still a work pad that we're going through, right? Because he's a young player, he needs to adapt, especially after I joined the team, and there's new things happening, and you have to. He like changed up his roles. He has to understand a bit the different type of CS, right? And in macro, we're weaker than outsiders, I would say, because, for example, Jame was controlling macro and outsiders, and he has done that for a long time. And me coming into here and kind of splitting with Nick, with Nitro, these obligations is, I personally don't have that much experience as Jame, right? And he understands what players he has, how to play in these situations. He just has much more experience. I'm in tier 1 for like 3 years now. He's in tier 1 for like 6 or like 5 maybe.
One question, I always hear in interviews from the other Liquid players, like they felt like they got a lot from you, like your knowledge and just like kind of your work ethic and stuff like that. But is there anything that you've gotten from the NA players? Like, is there anything that they've kind of shown you that is kind of just like, oh, I never thought of it that way?
They personally know much more about LAN, LAN environment, being in arena, what's the like cheat codes and whatever, cheat codes as if like
How to play with the crowd,
game and other things. John knows a lot about peripherals and some micro things that like diet, gym, whatever, right? That personally I didn't have a person in the outsiders that I could like talk about, right? And it's a different environment and different personalities. And when you have different personalities and you're in a different environment, you start to listen to those people, and you start to improve, because at a certain point where you're playing with players, you understand them and you're on one understanding, and you can't really go higher. You can, but you're going slower. When you're joining new players with different experience, you have more thoughts and more talks and discussions, and those discussions are the things that allow you to improve as a player and as a team. And the best probably experience what I got is that I understood that when you have different players and different personalities, your system in the team has to be different. So you can't just imply outsider system into Liquid and be expecting to win. There's different players, different things they want to do, and different approaches into the game. For example, if like Naf is a strong anchor, right? He can play differently than a teammate I would play before, right? Because he's confident in his own ability and like aim, for example, right? Or whatever. And you can compare. You can approximately set it up, but then you understand what micro changes you need to do in the team to help it. And the main thing that helps and that you need is...
You hungry?
Yeah, but yeah, I actually have the best of 3 right now. But basically, the main thing that you need is people talking to you back and saying, "Hey, I don't feel comfortable here. I want something changed like this. What do you think about this?" Then you have a discussion. Then you come into agreement, and that's the important thing.
I got one more clip.
I got one more clip, actually, yeah. No, so this is more, I actually want to bring this up when we were talking about entry fragging, right? And I feel like you're probably the best example to kind of talk about what it is and like how to or what kind of details you want to consider. So I've got this one on Vertigo. This is a bit more recent. This was at Blast Fall against Heroic. And yeah, just like, I'll show you the clip and you can just kind of talk me through some of the simple steps you do here and just why you do it. Because for me, I see that basically you come up towards ramp. Obviously, you use the smoke and the Molotov, and you also path a certain way. So I want you to talk about that. Let me replay it here.
The main important thing is conditioning enemies, throwing the same utility a couple rounds, and then at one certain point, you can use that utility. So for example, before, if you didn't use, you can use it. In this exact scenario, there was probably a call. I don't necessarily remember. You see players towards B.
Towards B, you mean these players here?
Yes. John, Keith, and Nick are towards B. Yeah. And we're probably planning to hit B early. So early pressure on A allows us to get the timing on B. Not necessarily sure if that's the case here, but it could have been the case. Okay. And also there could be a read, so you expect them to go, for example, 2A, and then you could get more chances. In this case scenario, they went 3A, and I because of the conditioned nades that you threw.
Yeah.
This timing showed up
Okay.
and happened, and that's why basically you got
Okay.
I got the kill.
For this particular entry, though, I want to ask, because let me see if I can get the next one. Oops, that's not it. Sorry, I have a lot of clips here. I have
Who
to
are we
scroll
watching
through.
there?
He's
Twist?
full of clips.
Yeah, I have full of clips. Anyways, I want to ask about this smoke here, because I see a lot of teams, players who come towards A ramp who throw this smoke, right? And then sometimes you can kind of like go behind it in one way, and then the other is like, you know, you path along this wall and try to catch them off guard. When do you do one or the other?
It depends against what team you're playing and what plan do you want to achieve. If you're going there on the one way, you have
In
your
this
own
one, yeah.
flaws. You can get spammed.
Yeah.
So you have to Molotov ramp, for example. And basically, the whole idea of the smoke is this smoke allows you to pat on the left because they're afraid of the one way that enemies could use. And then then this play can happen, right, where I killed two. On the other hand, if you go and use the one way, you're more safe. You're not committed that much. You're there. You try to get a kill if possible. If it's not possible, you drop down. So you want to. Those are different things. One is a full-on play. The other one is testing the ground on A, right? And obviously there's other plays with the smoke. So for example, you can smoke that. You can smoke lane.
Yep.
You can run through the yellow and flashes from T-spawn come, and you can peek the same way as if I went to the left, the same way I can do from yellow, right?
Yeah.
So it's also a kind of play. There's different plays around that smoke that you can play. It just depends who you're playing against and the right timing and the right round. In this example, 6-3, we're winning 6-3. You can play more
Aggressively?
That's what
more
momentum is.
aggressively.
Yeah.
Yes, in an important round, it's hard to call that. Not necessarily. You can call it if you have a game plan and if you have a plan, but you usually go by the importance of the round, your economy, and whatever.
Yeah.
So that's this last year rounded out, and it was a one of a lot of improvement and a lot of kind of versatility shown from you coming to two different teams. But for Liquid, it actually ended up being a year, especially solidified with that G2 win at the World Final, that Liquid were one of the last top teams to not win a tournament. You know, so I imagine that's at the top of the docket for you in 2023. Do you feel like you have the tools to close out a tournament? Do you feel like you should have already done that at Pro League? Where do you think that begins in 23?
I think it's good motivation that we were in those two finals. The Vitality final was really close. The G2 final we got stomped, but we know why we got stomped, and G2 played really well as well. So it's kind of a if we're able to get into the finals, we're probably also able to win the finals. I said in an interview that I don't see us winning at the moment because we understand how much work we still have. And yes, we can win a tournament if everybody comes individually super strong and we just run around the map and win. But in terms of like our comfort in winning comfortably without that individual level, so as if you're just dominating as a team, we don't have those instruments yet. But that's why we're working on them now. And I see the improvement. We all see the improvement. We see the changes in players. So everybody got a step higher, but still there's a path to go even higher and even higher. And you can win one tournament or whatever, but we don't want to just win one tournament because it's like lucky. We want to win continuous tournaments. And of course it's going to be hard, but we live for this game. We live with a wish to like have the trophy upright. And if, for example, NAF, Nitro, and Elish were winning tournaments, me and OC didn't. And it's still like we have hungry players. And the thing is, you would say, yes, me and OC are the hungriest players. But if you speak to like John, for example, or like Keith or Nick, right? They are hungry as well. They were, I'm not gonna say garbage for 2 years, but like they even left for Valorant because that's how bad it was, right?
Yeah.
So everybody's super motivated, and we tried to do our max on improving and going for that patting and self-improvement is the most important thing in life, and we just enjoy it, and this is our life, and that's why 240 days of the year, they're not home.
Yeah.
240 days, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
people-
Especially for like NA people, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this game is not online anymore, folks. Well, I think it actually speaks to the confidence of you and the team that you're willing to say, we know what we have to win, we just haven't realized it yet. But that is the end of the first episode of the return of the Blast Overtime with our new co-host, Mahone from the Mahone Zone, doing it live. YEKINDAR, wonderful first guest. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you,
on.
Thank you so much,
For
YEKINDAR.
everybody, we will be back here tomorrow and every day following, maybe for the rest of your life. Just keep tuning into Blast TV after the show ends to find out. Thank you so much for watching. As always, be safe.